welcome in to the first ever episode of the Empty the Clip podcast, the no bullshit conversations about all things revenue. At the end of the day, you're here if you want to make money. I am the host of this here podcast, JJ Russell. Joining me as always, the Steph Curry of sales, the Jake Paul of revenue production, the man, the myth, the legend, Joey Gilkey.
Those are both two references I probably would not resonate with, but I'll take it, man. I'll take it. If by Jake Paul you mean 20-something-year-old kid who's made millions, sure, I'll take it. You know, the dude's got attention.
I was more thinking like snorting cocaine off a stripper's chest, Jake Paul.
Oh, yes. My wife wouldn't appreciate that one as much, but I'll take it. Also, everyone's got their own brand.
Yeah, man.
What's up, dude?
Build yours. Oh, dude, we're back. We, for those who don't know, we'll intro the podcast here, but we ran another successful podcast for a season, got about 200 episodes in, 150 episodes in.
Yeah, boy.
And we sunset that bad boy because there was something better on the horizon. There was what is now Empty the Clip.
That's right.
Joey, why don't you tell the people, those listening, what can they expect from this crazy show here?
Well, we talk about it kind of as the subheading of it, where it's a no bullshit podcast on revenue. I think that we can say that because we're a group of people who knows how to actually create revenue today. I think a lot of folks out there right now are just talking about some bullshit, and they're not actually driving a whole lot of anything. They're monetizing off of telling you how you should drive revenue, but they're not driving revenue themselves. Whereas we're driving revenue for ourselves. We are driving revenue for clients. We are obviously becoming, day by day, more so, a thought leader in the space of revenue, sales, outbound specifically. And so
it's like being a financial advisor that's not wealthy.
That's correct. Yes. Whereas I'd say we're like Scrooge McDuck. Is that his name? Who's the guy who makes a bunch of money?
I don't know if I want to. I don't think I want to be that guy.
Whatever, dude. Fuck it.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways, so I think the whole goal of this podcast is to create a platform where we can actually throw value into the market. Obviously, the intention here is to get attention, to continue to put our thought leadership into the market so that you guys can absorb it and you guys can look at us as real smart people. And eventually that turns into millions, if not tens of millions of dollars for us. So a worthwhile endeavor to speak into a microphone, things that I talk about on a regular basis anyways. Now you guys just get to hear about it more.
Can they, I don't know if we're going to go quite as balls to the wall as we have on like current events or other hot topics.
We
might touch them. We might touch those balls. But here we're going to stick mostly to the revenue generating things.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm a polarizing individual. If you followed me for any length of time, that's kind of tame compared to the things that I am known to say on podcasts. It'll come out for sure. I am one of those guys who's just, I'm not going to hold my tongue no matter who's listening. I am going to be 100% myself. And so if I tell you that you should not cut off penises of children who want to transition at the age of 8 and don't actually know who they are, I'm probably going to say that.
You shouldn't do that. You should avoid it at all costs.
Should avoid what? Cutting penises off or saying people are crazy for one?
Oh, no. The cutting off of the penis part.
Yeah.
That's the thing we don't do.
Yeah, we don't do that.
It's funny. Whenever I jump onto a sales call or I meet a new prospect or anybody, just a new connection, and they're like, oh, yeah, I listen to the podcast. I'm like, your thoughts about me are predetermined, and I'm not sure in which direction.
That's right. That's right. You know what's funny? I was thinking about this the other day was if the 90s version of us, so like when I was in elementary school or whatever, and you know how they had like the DARE programs, like say no to drugs. It's like our DARE nowadays is like say no to transitioning little children and having guys and girls swing around and cross-dress in front of our kids. Like a little different. A little different.
We're about to hit the 5-minute segment here, which introduces a very important part of the structure of this podcast. We want to bring value. We want to bring the quick hitters. We want to do it in a way that nobody else is currently doing it. And so at every 5-minute mark, we are going to switch the topic, and you're going to hear some sound in the background that we've not decided what it's going to be yet that you probably just heard. So, turning the corner, Joey, I'm going to throw you a curveball because I'm going to throw you a segment that you were not expecting to talk about, but as you were unpacking so much uniqueness around who you are and your brand and the first 5-minute little banter there, made me think about this. Cold email is fucking broken. It is falling apart at the seams as we speak. What's happening in the market and in the world of cold email?
I'm trying to understand like for those who don't know, which if you don't know, you're living under a rock because everyone and their mother was trying to get and siphon as much attention as possible by posting the outreach.io public service announcement they put out about Google's rollout of spam. I'm trying to put myself in Google's shoes and understand why it is they're doing it. And I think it's because, just like anything, Google makes money in certain ways. One of those ways, and predominant one of those ways, is through advertising. And cold email is a form of free advertising that takes away from paid advertising. And if they can, in any way, shape, or form, force dollars out of cold email, which they don't get to see a dollar of, which you could argue they could by having like users of G Suite or whatever, but to like a predictable, legitimate, proven advertising platform, which is, where they make a lot of their money. I think it's why they're doing that. I don't know fully, but anyways, nonetheless, I think that cold email's fucked, and a lot of it has been coming for a long time. We've been watching open rates drop. We've been watching Google dabble with a little bit of some rollouts of some shutdowns and some spam and things of that nature. So I think that we've been moving away from it a long time ago. Thankfully, we've seen a lot of things in the marketplace. We've been ahead of nearly all of these things that are coming. But I think that folks who fail to adapt, I was talking to a big cold email guy the other day. He's a big deliverability guy. And he was cackling, laughing at how dumb organizations are. So a lot of folks are on outreach.io, the sales lofts of the world, the apollo.ios, whatever the sales engagement platform is. These platforms were not built for today's cold email, right? They were built with 1 or 2 domains in mind. And there was not a massive spam issue where Google was going to shut down a domain because they're spam reported. At least not until there was a high enough threshold. And most people could fall underneath that. Now, today, where they're saying that 0.3% will be considered shut downable, right? If you have 0.3%. So to put that in perspective, that's only 3 reports on 1,000 emails.
Holy shit.
That, if I sent that to like 1,000 grandmas from grandchildren, that grandchildren would probably get shut down, right? Like they're probably going to fall into that. So here's what people don't think about why this is a major shit show for organizations is because a lot of organizations, especially the mid-market enterprise who are slow to move and adapt, is they use the same domain for internal comms as they do for external cold email. And so if your SDR team goes ham on the market and they send too many that get pumped into a spam bucket, right, 0.3% or more, then you are putting your entire organization at risk for not being able to communicate with the market. Internal clients, internal employees, and external prospects. So I don't know where to take that other than we should not be dabbling in the cold email space at all. I think that it's as good as dead. I do think there are 1% of people who are going to figure out some ways around it through, using smart lead, multiple inboxes, even like warm-ups have to change. But yeah, I'm not bullish on it at all.
With the 30 seconds we got left here, what about one-to-one, like targeted accounts-based email?
I think that people are trying to make an argument that, then you just need to get better targeting. You just need to get better personalization. You just need to be more contextual. Like, yes, that is going to help you than spamming the shit out of the market. But I still think you run a massive risk. So my approach, what I would do and what we're still going to do is I think you need to have a ton of inboxes, a ton of domains, a ton of inboxes within those, or inboxes within those domains, And I think that you need to take a completely account-based approach for every email. It needs to be one-to-one, but it also needs to be auto-rotating amongst 15 domains if you want to stay above board. Now, the one challenge people might run into is if Google gets smart enough to know that where you purchase your domain from, right? If the IP address is the same as a flagged shutdown issue, Google might say, oh, that domain was shut down from this IP address. That IP address also owns these 6 domains. Shut those 6 down too, right? That's where people are going to get fucked.
That's good. Part of the big issue here, and our next topic, is that these big fucking SaaS platform monstrosity companies that we've built all of our strategies around, they don't really give a fuck about how successful you are. They just want you to perceive them as valuable enough that you sign up for your next subscription, right? You've got an interesting term for this group of cluster-fucked companies, one that you've stolen from our beautiful military. Joey, what are you calling this amalgamation of fuckery?
Yeah, this is the Sales Acceleration Industrial Complex. Actually, I think Ryan Reisert, who's on our team, actually might have coined this phrase, but when he said it, it clicked in my head because we're all, or maybe we're not all, but we're about to be very familiar with what is the military industrial complex. So the military industrial complex is that war is profitable. And if war is profitable, then there is profit to be had by certain individuals and companies. Now, war is profitable on both sides. Who makes the money in war? Well, it's those who supply the war. Well, who supplies the war? Well, oftentimes it's these large defense contractors. Well, who does the defense contractors support? Oftentimes it's politicians. And so what does this mean? Well, the military industrial complex is you are warmongers, right? So let's take someone on the right in the United States government. She is currently running for president, and it's Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley.
Ooh, good old Nikki Haley.
Oh, NH. Nikki Haley is a warmonger. She pushes war. She loves war. She loves funding Ukraine.
Her heels are ammunition, Joey. They're fucking ammunition. They're 5-inch heels.
They really are. They're massive. But nonetheless, so she pushes war. Well, why does she push war? Well, because she is paid on the back end by the Raytheons of the world, by the Northrop Grummans of the world. Those are the defense contractors who are selling weapons, ammunition, supplies to the war, both sides. And so those folks make a ton of money. Those people pay into the pockets of politicians through super PACs and things of that nature. Not to mention, Nikki Haley's family has a defense contractor consulting firm. Weird. And so she went into politics not being a millionaire. She has now been in politics. She is a multi-millionaire. And now she's running for U.S. president. So good luck to her. Anyways, the sales industrial complex is the same thing.
It sounds so crooked, Joey. Surely in the United States, we wouldn't do something so fucked up. We're the good guys, Joey.
We've been doing fucked up stuff since 1776, let's be honest. And I love the United States, for the record. Sometimes fucked up stuff has to happen. So what is the sales acceleration industrial complex? It's the same thing, right? It's we promote and we push a message. Let's, in this case, war. Or in this case, with sales acceleration, it's cold email, cold call, etc. What are the commonly accepted things around that? Well, when we do that, who makes money? The sales engagement platforms. Who are those sales engagement platforms? They are funded by VCs with deep pockets who can have these platforms have beautiful UI, UX, and beautiful marketing to push out this message that war is good, right? We need this war. And so when there is war, there is dollar figures flowing in. And so when there's dollar figures flowing into the sales acceleration complex, we are funding these sales acceleration platforms, right? The defense contractors in this case. And they're perpetuating a relatively shitty message. Unfortunately, they're perpetuating the problem in the market too, which is death and carnage. And death and carnage in this case is cold email and cold call, etc. You should be okay with 3% connect rates. And so therefore, we need to have a dialer that rips through a lot more dials. You should be okay with 15% open rates and 0.5% response rates. So we should rip through a lot more cold emails. Well, we can't do that with one SDR, so we got to hire another one to do that. Well, when we do it with 2 SDRs, it's not enough to hit our goals because the numbers are dropping by the day. So we need 3, 4, 5 SDRs. Well, every time you add an SDR to a team, you add a seat license. When you add a seat license, you add revenue to the sales acceleration platform. And so you are lining the pockets of the sales acceleration platforms and the VCs that have invested in that platform. And you're buying a message war that is meant to pump money into other people's pockets and take money from yours just so you can be mediocre.
Meanwhile, the $5 million business owner of the world is convinced that if he just spends another dollar on a new platform or another seat or another
Why not?
feature,
They're a $1 billion unicorn. You should trust a $1 billion unicorn, right? That's what they say, right? And so at the end of the day, it's a self-perpetuating market. It's a $1 billion unicorn. They're well-funded. They've got great UI, UX, so it looks beautiful. They've got great marketing. They've got all these mouthpieces pumping up their message, and at the end of the day, all it's doing is fucking the end user. In the event of war,
you know what else
you
is
are
fucking the end
the
user?
Citizens. What?
The citizens are fucked. The end users are fucked. Everyone's fucked on this podcast.
There will be positive
and the grandmas,
because
their deliverability is terrible. All right, we're going to turn the corner here, but one of the other... We got 3.5 minutes to race through this one because we really, really dug into the sales industrial complex acceleration of the company.
Stop talking about it. Start being about it.
The other... We're going to be it right now, Joey. We're going to be it. All right? I got the belt on. I'm going to fucking be it right now.
Let's go, bro.
All right?
The belt.
Wear it around my nipples. It's a nipple
go.
belt. All right. The other lie that we have bought into that the outbound sales industry is pushing is that the North Star meeting for all successful engagements is meetings, or the North Star metric is meetings.
Right.
It's all about the meetings. How many meetings will you get me? Well, you've got a new a phrase that you've been throwing around for the last 6 months, and I think it's really become the kind of our flag in the ground. Meetings don't matter.
Nope.
Meetings don't fucking matter. Let's talk about why meetings don't matter.
Meetings don't matter because at the end of the day, I'm not saying they don't matter, period, like at all. What I'm saying is meetings are not the North Star metric we make them out to be. Quotas are built around meetings. Hiring and firing is built around meetings. Bonuses and commissions are based around meetings. And yet, when people hit a meeting quota, why is it that revenue is still struggling? The revenue targets, right? So if the metric that is meant to be our North Star hinge metric, right, the thing that we hinge everything off of, is not helping us hit our downstream revenue targets, then the metric is not the metric. It shouldn't be. And so when people are basing everything off of meetings, what they're essentially saying is we are basing everything off of the 3 to maybe 10% of the market that's currently actively buying right now. People who are willing to take meetings are people who are making decisions right now or semi-open to it, right? And so we're all familiar with the Chet Holmes buying pyramid, right? There's 3% buying, 7% open to it, 30% not thinking about it, 30% that are not now, and 30% that are no never. Well, we step over the 30% not now. We step over the 30% not thinking about it. We sometimes step over the 7% open to it, and we just go after the 3% buying because those people take meetings. The challenge is those 3% that are taking meetings, at the end of the day, you are going to be in a bloodbath, right? Because everyone's going after meetings with those people. And so we're not going to create a strategy around the other 67% of the market. We're just going to go to the 3% that are buying, which means that we are going to have a lot more competition for those same people because we have a short-term mindset. And when we have meetings as the metric, we become a commodity, right? Because we're fighting like everybody else is fighting. So therefore, we have a race to the bottom from a pricing perspective. A lot more negotiation happens in that 3% than it does in the rest, right? It becomes less about a value conversation and more about a pricing. You have a higher no-show rate because if they're taking meetings of 7, 8 people, eventually they like one more than the other. They're going to drop the other 3, 4, 5, 6 that are no longer relevant to the conversation. So you're booking meetings and they're not even showing. And so this is where I think it matters. And then you have companies who are like, well, I need you to book 15, 20, 25 meetings. Well, statistically speaking, that's way outside of the 3% range. So if you're forcing meetings with buyers who are not in a buying market or close to it, then you find yourself in a position where you're taking meetings with people who are not going to be buyers right now, and your no-show rate goes up, your ghosting rate goes up, all the negative metrics that we measure go up because you're forcing people into a meeting.
There is a better way, and I want to unpack that better way. It's one that we build around, train, coach our clients through at Apex Revenue. Before we do, jump into a quick ad read about what they can expect if somebody wanted to work with us at Apex Revenue. Check it out. All right, cool. And we can just jump back in here in 3, 2, 1. All right, Joey, so there is a better way, right? So if meetings don't matter, we can't just make that, if they're not the North Star metric, if they don't matter as much as we are saying they do, we can't make that assertion and not have a better alternative. And so what is that better alternative that we are building our outbound sales motions towards and around and coaching our clients through in 2023 and into 2024?
Well, I think we have this entire premise around the SDR, right? Sales development rep. I think that we have to start thinking more like this is a market segmentation rep, right? Or an intent development rep. The goal is not sales for a sales development. Outbound has to become far more about marketing than it does about sales. And that's the biggest premise, and that's the biggest change. And so we base our entire model around this terminology, completion. So a completion is defined as we get the person we intended at the account that we want to break into all the way through our entire cold pitch, and we bucket them or segment them into one of 4 categories. Those 4 categories are: I'm not interested. Not interested because it's not now, or I'm not interested because it's not ever. Referred. I'm not the right person right now. The other person, this guy, Jim Smith, here's his number, here's his email, whatever, tell him I sent you.
God, I love Jim.
Jim Smith is the guy, right? So not now, or not interested, referred. There's a third one that's booked, right? So booked meeting. You are going to come across the 3%, the 5%, whatever in the market that's worthy of putting on the calendar. They're in a buying decision. You should still put it on the calendar, but you shouldn't fight for it, right? But you're going to come across them, so put them on the calendar. And then the fourth one, this is where the gold lives. This is your activated leads. This is the portion of your market that probably lives in that 7% that's open to it, or that 30% that's not thinking about it. And when you build your strategy around that, it enables you to do appropriate follow-up with the right person. So that's when it turns into from a marketing thing into a sales conversation, right? So when you get through an entire completion and you book a portion, you get referred by a portion, you get not interested by a portion, but then you activate 20% of those completions, right? That's our metric we aim for, is 20% of completions should be activated leads. When you activate them, you are essentially identifying one of the 4 I's, either valuable information, a level of intrigue, right? Ears perked up. That's usually probably in that not thinking about it portion. Interest, right? So they have said, hey, this is very interesting. I'd love to talk more about this. Can you send me something? Can you follow up me on this date? Whatever. Or intent, right? Hey, we're with outreach.io. They're a clusterfuck. Our contract ends in Q1. We got to go and start vetting sales engagement platforms or alternatives in Q1. That's intent, right? And so when you can take that segment of the market, we've done our market research through the SDR's job is done with that segment. Now they pass that off to the professional seller. That's your account executive, your founder-based seller, etc. Then you do proper follow-up with context. So you reach out to these people because they're in one of the 4 I's and so on. And so when you do that, you've already talked to them. The lead you have generated here is high intent, high interest, high intrigue, high information. When you follow up, you can say, hey, John, you actually spoke to my colleague, JJ, the other day. You guys talked about X, Y, and Z. My name is Joey. I'm actually the CEO over here at this organization. I just thought I'd try to reach out to you, catch you on the phone to see if it'd be worthwhile conversation for us to start now or put it on the calendar. So is this a good time for us to talk or whatever, right? When I do that, I'm the professional seller that shows up with more than just a cold pitch. I'm showing up with intention. I've got business acumen, so on and so forth. And so the hinge point for all of this is
an anecdote to that. Go ahead.
I'll say, the hinge point for all of this is you have to do completions, not meetings. We bonus off of completions. We determine an activated lead is just as valuable as a booked meeting. It's just as valuable as a not interested. It's just as valuable as a referred. We pay them all the same because we don't care about meetings. We care about the completion, and we care about segmenting the market.
And like you're saying, it can't just be a verbiage change. or you change the window dressing. It's like you literally have to change the entire guts of the operation and what you care about and how you build around that. So
100%.
Quick anecdote: our team is full of VPs of sales, fractional VPs of sales, who could be making multiple six figures other places running sales operations, and instead we're doing that internally, fractionally for our clients. But we do this, right? There's a team of 6 of us that on a regular basis for an hour block a day, all we do is follow up on activated leads.
That's right.
And they're so warm. The conversations are super fun. We gamify it, right? Like it's a lot of fun for all of us to get in a room and become that professional seller and do that follow up. Let's we got to turn here. We're on the clock. We're keeping this thing moving. You and I could banter all day on all of this stuff. We'll have to save. I wanted to talk about list strategy, but that I just need an upper, man. I need an amphetamine, if you will. Like we gotta really go up here. Let's talk about starting beef on LinkedIn, talking shit on LinkedIn, not being afraid to have a brand or to use language that offends people. And I got a couple directions we could take this. The first one is just, when did you decide that you were going to take that approach, and what's behind it for you?
When I realized that LinkedIn rewards controversy. That was when
Jake Paul, baby, the Jake Paul of revenue production.
Though, man. Like one thing that's interesting, I'm a big UFC, mixed martial arts guy. And there's a famous fighter who made a ton of money off of playing the character they call the heel, right? The heel is kind of the bad guy, right? The anti-hero, if you will. It's the person that rattles the cages, says the things that people are probably thinking but don't want to say, right? They're willing to ruffle feathers, and they seem unfazed when they do it. And so when I realized that I can play the heel on LinkedIn and simultaneously maintain my brand of being an intelligent thought leader in this space, I started to kind of dabble in that a little bit, right? I have a very alpha personality. You've known me forever. It's my personality. I'm not afraid to be controversial. I'm not afraid to say things. I'm very authentic. We talked about this last night, JJ. I'm just a very authentically me person. But there's an extra layer of persona that I throw online because I play the game, right? And what the game, I call it, I throw rocks at hornets' nests. Because here's my strategy. I speak in absolutes. I give no caveats. I do all my explaining in the comments, but I have to speak in absolutes and caveats because it pisses people off. And when you piss people off or you throw rocks at people's beehives, the bees come swarming and they swarm into the comments. And when they swarm into the comments, what?
I got a question.
What?
About said bees and said hornets.
Yes.
Why do all of them live in the UK? How come all your bees and hornets live in the UK? What's going on there?
I think the UK is just a bunch of pussified men, to be honest. They're a bunch of vagina men walking around, dude. They're so soft. Their government won't even let them own a weapon. So, anyways, they have super high crime because people are stabbing people because they can't get guns and stuff. Anyways, bro, there is a lot of UK. I got a lot of US too. But nonetheless, I think our culture in general is just super weenie. But you throw rocks at the hornet's nest. The hornets come. They swarm in the comments. They shit talk, whatever. I'm going to respond because there's a conversation going on about this post, which tells LinkedIn there's conversation going on here. Push it to more and more people. And when you do that, it brings more hornets. It brings more people who are pissed off. It brings people who are agreeing. And now you got hornets fighting other hornets because they're all like, no, I agree with Joey. No, I don't. The best part of all of it is in my DMs are super high quality leads who just saw through the shit. They agree with the message. They're not going to partake in the comments. They're not going to partake in the likes. They're not going to repost my shit. But they're going to come in the back end and they're going to say, hey, I actually really agree with what you're saying. I love the way you said it. Can we have a conversation with your company? And so that's my approach. Yeah. Sorry to
dude.
share,
and then you
spill the beans, guys.
No, it's
I'm
great.
not as much of an asshole as I appear online. Well, yes, I am.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day, and it depends on who I'm talking to. If I talk to some, never mind. I won't go there. I'm trying to be tame this podcast.
You're famous on subreddit.
I am famous on the LinkedIn Lunatics subreddit. They don't like me. What's funny is I made an epic video that was a sweet turn of events. I made it sound like they got me and I was sad and I was changing my ways. And then I turned it on them motherfuckers. And then they're like, cause I actually went back and read some of the subreddit And the guy was like, honestly, I watched this video. It kind of made some good points. I guess we are kind of helping him by talking shit in his comments.
And now they're gone.
Now they're
That's
gone.
great. All right. Let's talk about prospecting billion-dollar CEOs, which is just really a fun way of saying there is a group of people that some would say are untouchable via outbound.
Yep.
Fortune 5,000, Fortune 500, whoever it would be, C-suite, right? Like I feel like a lot of people when they're building their ICP or their target account profile or whatever they want to call it, they are going after decision makers with lower ranking titles because they feel more accessible. It feels easier. It feels more accomplishable. And I think what we're proving is the opposite is actually true. A lot of times it's easier to get a CEO on the phone. And a lot of times those are CEOs of multiple $100 million or even $1 billion companies.
Yep.
Talk about accessibility of those high-level decision makers and what we're seeing in the work we're doing for our clients.
Well, there's two parts, I think, to this is people don't realize, like, the larger the organization, the less busy a CEO actually is. They got teams for everything. They got meetings on top of meetings on top of meetings with teams on top of teams on top of teams, right? And so CEOs are actually fairly bored, right, at a certain level. And so they sit at more of a strategic level. They obtain information that flows up through their departments and organizations, and they can make decisions. But as a whole, they're not the person who's running and gunning, closing deals, on follow-ups, making big vendor decisions and purchase decisions. Like, they're just sitting there making strategic decisions. So if you can get in front of them, it's not that difficult to have a conversation with them. Now, that's the next part is, are they accessible? Yes. Everyone has a cell phone attached to them. Sometimes CEOs have two. Everyone's got a direct line to them, albeit sometimes difficult to get to. But at the end of the day, they are accessible human beings like anything. They answer their phone like anybody else. They'll pick up their cell phone just like anybody else because they have doctor's appointments and they have plumbers and they have family, and whoever's calling their phone, they will pick up cold calls, whether you like it to admit it or not. And the last is, I think a lot of people don't go there because they see a CEO and think that it's just they don't make decisions, so therefore I'm a marketer, or I'm a marketing agency, so therefore I have to go to the CMO or the director of marketing or whatever. And they don't realize that the CEO, a referral down from them, holds a lot of weight, right? If the CEO tells the CMO to take a meeting, they're going to take the meeting. Then it's your job to really convince them.
Yeah,
otherwise.
but two things have to be in place for that to be the reality. And it's two things we've kind of referenced already that I don't think a lot of people are actually doing. So one is, you have to be able to consistently and actually execute on this, get in front of CEOs, right? So how you're sourcing your data, and then the regularity with which you're dialing. Right? Are you doing this every day, right? You got to be getting in front of CEOs over and over again. And then once you get the referral, which I think a lot of people get, or maybe they don't, I don't know. Once you get it, you have to have a process for following up on that lead and doing it over and over and over and over again. And if those things are present, that's an actual strategy.
It's a winning strategy.
But people
I think
not doing.
At the end of the day, CEOs are human beings, right? They might have more money than you. They might have a longer career than you, but they're a CEO, when they take off their uniform, if you will, is a dad, a husband, a community member. They go to their daughter's recitals, they go to their son's sports games. Like, they're a human being. And so it's not like they're unapproachable. So if you can get in front of them, they're just as approachable as anybody else, and sometimes more so. Right? They might be so bored they'll talk to you, right?
The number, we get pinged. So every time one of our clients gets an activated lead or a booked meeting, we get notified as the fractional VPs. Yeah. And it's one of my favorite things to do is just kind of watch what's coming throughout the course of the day. I've got them, I can filter so I can see what's activated and what's being booked. But man, just to see the names of the companies is really fun, because we've got some clients that are targeting, they're small businesses, right? So like $2 to $50 million or whatever. Very specific industries. Some are a little bit more blue collar, but there's a lot that are higher ticket B2B. Most of them are higher ticket B2B that are selling into Fortune 5,000, some Fortune 500. And you start to see like these either executive or like high level director roles at Coca-Cola, totally, or like some big Verizon. We booked one with I'm not gonna say who, but like a high level executive at Verizon for one of our clients last week. And it's just fun it's insane. Kind of stick your middle finger up to those who say you can't prospect high level decision makers and to go get those people on the phone for our clients.
I'm a top down, right? Like, there's top down, middle out, bottom up, right? We talked about that before. I mean, top down, go as high as you possibly can. If you can't hit them, then go the next rung lower. middle out is what most people spend their time on. It's the middle level management, the VP level, maybe the CMO, CRO level. But there's something about the CEO that they're afraid to go up there. And so I'd rather go top down, get referred down if someone else makes that decision. If I can't hit that, then I'll go middle out and I'll try to work the middle mark or the middle level of the organization. And then finally, if I can't get anything, I'll try to go bottom up with, let's go after the sales reps in the organization or the enterprise AEs. They give us information. We get referred up to the CRO with a bunch of data in mind. And so anyways.
Top down. Top down's the only way to go, I think.
Brother, take it off.
You heard it here first, guys. All right. Culture is it's a squishy word. It gets thrown around a lot. We've done different things to try to build culture. We've put core values on the wall. We've put core values on a chain. We've handed out a core value chain. We've done all the things. Sure. I think at the end of the day, what we're figuring out is it's far more to do with the type of people you hire and the standard that they continually set and that you set for the organization. And our culture, I'd say it's unique to just about anything that I've seen out there. But I would say that it's a culture that breeds winning and success.
That's right.
And so talk about how we've maybe gone a little bit of an unconventional route to solidifying our team culture. Talk about what that culture is and why it's important.
I used to not be a culture guy at all. I used to be a
squishy
who can do the job, we'll create our core values later kind of thing. And then I got the point now where it's like, I got one core value. Fuck it. So I used to be like most people and not value culture as much, but culture is also not like your beanbag chairs and your kombucha or whatever. I think culture is that like guttural, like, this is who I am, right? I mentioned it earlier and I talked to you about this last night, but I think it's what is the authentic version of your brand? Who are you and in your core? And I think that's what we developed. And I think that, one phrase we talk about is we attract, we don't chase. And so we find the people who resonate with our culture. And so our culture is very probably not commonplace. I would even say people would say like it's more of a locker room, right? Like it's more of a sports team. But I would say it's even further than that because I think even on a sports team, and you and I both know this, playing high-level college football, there are still leeches and low-life people even amidst a sports team. And it really comes down to is the core group strong enough to overcome some of the lazy leeches at the bottom. Whereas in our organization, there's not a single weak point in our organization. And if there is, I weed that shit out and cut it real fast. But I would say we've built a culture of complete ownership. We have one core value, which is own your shit. Everything stems off of the back of that. If you take extreme ownership over outcomes of success and failures, then and everyone has that mentality of, no, it's my fault. Right? If everyone says, no, it's my fault, then there is no finger pointing, there's no blame, there's no victimhood. It's what can I do to ensure this doesn't happen again? And if everyone does that, it's a massive rising tide that lifts all ships. And I think we have that at its core. I've also been unashamed about who we hire, right? I don't hire progressives. I don't hire pronoun-wearing liberals. I don't hire people who wave whatever the flavor of the week is, whether it's BLM or it's Ukraine or it's pro-Palestine or it's pro-Israel. Like, I don't, if those are the things that you wave and you care about, that's awesome. I just don't give a fuck about having you involved in my life or on my team and becoming a victim, because that's the victim culture comes from that same culture. And people are like, no, that's empathy. Like, no. It's a victim culture. You can have empathy for things. I can have empathy for people of Israel, people of Palestine, for black people who are oppressed, or whatever, and not wave the flavor of the week just to throw out my virtue, right? And so I think that I find that those people are not a good fit for us, and I don't care who says that's wrong. This is my fucking company. I take all the risk. My name's on lawsuits if there ever was one. My name's on debt if there ever was debt, right? And so this is my company. I'm going to do it how I want to do it, and this is how I've chosen to do it. And so how we've attracted people is I've been very vocal about who we hire. I want people who have an ownership mentality, who are willing to do the hard shit, who want to be a part of a culture that actually can go out and dominate. And I want to build a team of winners. At the end of the day, I have a goal of winning, and I have a definition of what winning is. And if you don't want to win, then this is not a team that you can play on.
You just made a very serious, heartfelt statement, and all I could think about was Ben Stiller in Heavyweights saying, "When I'm done with you, you'll be a bunch of skinny wieners."
Bro, that movie is a classic.
Oh, I got to go back and watch it. This might be, I'll introduce my kids over the holiday. That's awesome. No, but you're spot on, man. And we got one last topic to end on here, but I do think it's worth circling back. It extends far beyond who you are in the workplace. Mm-hmm. And you said this, but it's how you show up at home. It's what you care about with your life. It's how you, Andy Frisella talks about it they don't have janitors because they clean up the bathrooms and they take care of the sinks and the toilets and they keep it the way that it should be kept. They all have personal ownership over everything. It's not just how clients get serviced, it's all of it. And so we've got a team of guys who invest in their relationships with their spouses. They take care of their kids. They take ownership at home. They take care of their body. They're working on their mindset. And we do that on a regular basis. And you add all those things together and you start to build the cumulative effect of that is significant. So
yeah, it really is.
Let's wrap with this. We've talked about a lot of ways that people are currently getting it wrong, that the sales acceleration industrial complex is getting it wrong. We've talked about some ways that we think we are getting it right and some things that we're doing different than a lot of those people are in 2024, going into 2024 to get sales right. But why is it, if we had to talk about sales teams, sales orgs, we've worked collectively with hundreds of them. Why is it, if you had to boil it down to a few key things, that they fail over and over again? Why do sales orgs fail when they do?
Sales orgs. Dude, this is so hard. It's a complex answer. Everything from, I think that one, we have made the North Star metric the wrong North Star metric. That's one. I think that two, we have taken old ways of doing things. Let's take Predictable Revenue, Aaron Ross's book from 2010, 12, from that range. And we have made that the gold standard for how we build sales orgs. And what we don't realize is at the time of Aaron Ross writing that book, sales development reps were way underpaid, right? Or they were maybe properly paid at the time, but they were not a valued position. So they were getting paid $28,000 base salary with very little commission, maybe $10,000, maybe you make $42K OTE. Tech stacks were not expensive, nor were there much at all, right? The sales acceleration thing did not exist. And so having a bloated tech stack was not a thing. And so tech wasn't that expensive. The approaches back then were pretty simple, right? And what they did, right? Hit the phones, hit the emails. There wasn't AI and LinkedIn social selling all that much and all these different things that you can add in the mix. On top of that, AEs weren't that expensive, right? They were a 55K base, maybe 75 at most. And so you go from this place where you have all these things, not to mention Salesforce was a brand at the time of Aaron building this. And so going to market without that much competition with a big logo behind you was a lot easier than the $3 million whatever who doesn't have a brand, who's fighting the battle of getting good talent, right? Because what we're finding nowadays is the SDR costs $55,000, $60,000 base plus $20,000 to $25,000 on top of that. So you're looking at an $80,000+ on target earnings. Mm-hmm. The data requirements for these people nowadays are substantial because connect rates are way lower, open rates are way lower, and these data companies rape you with their fees. And so you get paid a shit ton of money to these data companies to build a list for these people. The sales acceleration expectation of having the sales lofts or the outreach.ios of the world, having your intent data with 6 Sense, having your CRM, you having your conversational intelligence with Gong.io, you have all this shit that's expected on top of an expensive SDR, on top of now an expensive account executive. And you wonder why it's not profitable. And so that's what's wrong with sales organizations today, is they are built for a model that is not for today. It's not built around profitability. It's not built around efficiency. It's built around this bloated technology, overpaid sales reps, and supplied or enabled, right? We love to say sales enablement, but the best type of enablement for a salesperson is having the right fucking message to the right fucking person with the right type of list that you can follow up and call on into infinity. If you could do that, you will enable a sales rep. Instead, we call sales enablement gong.io. So we can have AI tell me that I should say fuck 3 more times in this sales call because I'm 12% more likely to get them to the next call, right? Come on. Sorry.
God, you'd be so good at sales if that was the case.
God, I would be good
if all it took was profanities.
Yes.
What I hear, that was really good. We're soft.
Yes.
We're bloated as an industry, and we're underperforming and under-enabled in the way that you actually need to be.
Correct. And we're accepting it. And the reason we're watching the implosion happen at the end of 2023 into 2024 is because we had a ton of money injected into our economy in 2020. There was a lot more inflated money going around that people could spend. And people were going home and working so they could move to any company they wanted. They could get different opportunities. They could like, oh, I could go work from San Diego. I'm going to go move to San Diego and do this thing. All the while, people got more money, which meant that more money got spent in the market, And then a correction happens, and we get a really shitty president and a really shitty administration. And we find ourselves in this place where all the money from COVID has dried up. VCs are not investing as much. They're putting a lot more pressure on their organizations. And when you have pressure on an organization, they make terrible decisions. They make terrible decisions that ends up hurting everyone downstream. And so we're watching the implosion because of a poor stewardship of business. And sales is a facet of that.
If we're over time by about a minute and a half here, but if you're listening and you feel that resonates with you, if you are one of the many who have a bloated sales team, bloated sales operation, you're not able to generate results and your team is soft and you don't know why, don't go buy the next thing. Just give us a call.
Yes.
Check it out, apexrevenue.com. We would love to talk to you. We are here to provide a ton of value on the show, but we also know that if we get you in a room and we start showing you how we create real results through outbound sales for clients just like you, that there's a lot of value in that conversation too. So apexrevenue.com. Thanks for hanging out with us for the first episode of Empty the Clip. We are figuring out this new format. It's not perfect, but there will be value every week. And so come back, check us out, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things that make us feel warm and fluffy. If you leave us a comment and you're one of the first, the early adopters of this show, we will find a way to reward you. We are creating a lot of swag all the time. Right now, we will find a way to make it worth your while to leave us a comment. Please do. And as always, moving forward, we will be right back here next week, same time, same place for the next episode of Empty the Clip.
Peace. Bye.
All right. All right. See ya.
Pull up and empty the clip. Pull up and empty the clip. Pull up and empty the clip. My shooters pull up and empty the clip. Reload that bitch and then empty again. My shooters pull up and